Hi everyone, these are the answers to the fractions on a number line quiz. So the first fraction was 3/6. In order to plot this fraction, first we've got to look at the denominator, which is the number on the bottom, and that tells us how many parts to divide each whole into. So from 0 to 1 I have a whole piece right there that needs to be divided into 6 parts. So now you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got another whole right here from 1 to 2 that needs to be divided into 6 equal parts as well. And I can do it again on this final whole piece right here. And so now I look at the numerator, now that I've got all these divided into 6 equal parts, and that numerator tells me, the top number, how many parts I'm going to travel. So I start at 0, and since it's a positive 3, I'm going 3 to the right. So that would be 1, 2, 3, and I'd put my point right on the number line and label that 3/6. Now as you can see, if I look from 0 to 1, that point is halfway between 0 and 1, so an equivalent fraction to that would be 1/2. Going on to the next fraction, we have 8/5. So the denominator, the number on the bottom, tells me how many parts to divide each whole into. So from 0 to 1 I have a whole that I'm going to divide into 5 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, I've got another whole that I'll divide into 5 equal parts. And now the numerator, the 8, tells me how many parts to travel. So I start at 0, it's positive, so I go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's where I put my point. And I label the 8/5 right here. And to find an equivalent fraction, I look at the whole pieces. So if you look from 0 to 1, I traveled 1 whole piece, and then from 1 to 2 there were 5 parts, but I only went 1, 2, 3 of them. So my equivalent fraction would be 1 3/5. Next we've got 3 over 2, 3/2. So I need to divide each whole into 2 parts. Here from 0 to 1 I've got 1, 2, and from 1 to 2 I've got 1, 2. And now I need to travel 3 of them. So I start at 0 and I go 1, 2, 3. There's where my point is, so that would be 3/2. And for my equivalent fraction, from 0 to 1 I traveled the whole thing, but from 1 to 2 there were 2 parts, but I only went 1 of them. So my equivalent fraction is 1/2. And finally we had 1 2/3. So the denominator still tells me how many parts to divide it into. So I'm dividing each whole into 3 equal parts. And now because I've got this 1 in front, that tells me that I'm going to travel 1 whole part right here. And now the numerator tells me to go 2 more out of the 3. So now I go 1, 2, that's 1 2/3. For my equivalent fraction, now I go the other way. Remember that this was divided into thirds. So now if I count individually how many of those little parts I traveled, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So an equivalent fraction would be 5/3. That's all for the corrections. Bye guys.